Good evening and thanks for joining us. Canada's finance minister has admitted he made a big financial mistake. Bill Morneau says he wrote a check today for more than $41,000 to repay the We charity for trips he and his family took back in 2017. The surprise came during Morneau's appearance before the Finance Committee. It's probing Morneau and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's role in a cabinet decision to award a multi-million-dollar contract to We to run a student grant program. The opposition had plenty of questions today, including how does anyone forget they owed $41,000? Abigail Bimman is following this for us tonight. Abigail.
Well, Donna, some late-breaking news here following an afternoon of explosive testimony by the finance minister. We now know the prime minister will testify at the very same committee. That's a rare event. His office says the timing is still being worked out.
I want to apologize for this error on my part. It's a mistake. I think it was a mistake on my part.
Innumerable mea culpas from a finance minister who tried to explain why earlier in the day he wrote a check to We for tens of thousands of dollars for 2 family trips to Kenya in 2017 and Ecuador, of which he'd already paid $52,000 in personal expenses, but didn't know about the rest.
Today, I wrote a check in payment of $41,366. I expected and always had intended to pay the full cost of these trips, and it was my responsibility to make sure that was done. Not doing so, even unknowingly, is not appropriate. I want to apologize for this error.
The average Canadian living in Red Deer or Halifax that goes on a trip would notice if there was say a $400 expense that they didn't pay. Maybe a hotel room for a couple of nights that never got charged them, and they paid immediately. But you're telling me that on this obviously very luxurious trip, that $41,000 of expenses happened right under your nose, and you didn't know about it until it suddenly, through an epiphany, came to your attention the very day you were to testify in a parliamentary committee about it.
But there's more. Morneau's family also made 2 $50,000 donations to We, one in June of 2018 and one in June of this year related to COVID-19. The same month, the Prime Minister announced We would lead the $900 million student grant program.
I formally asked the Ethics Commissioner to review this information as part of his examination.
Have you read the Conflict of Interest Act?
I believe when I first came into office, I would have had access to all of those acts.
If you don't really remember the Conflict of Interest Act, you remember the Aga Khan ruling by the Ethics Commissioner, because it seems that he made direct rulings about a situation that you are now in. Isn't there someone in your office who would tell you, come on, Minister, these are the rules. This is the law of the land. It applies to you as well.
Conservatives are calling for his resignation. Morneau says he'll keep working for Canadians.
Abigail, there is another thread to this story. The contract the government awarded to We and then cancelled went to the We Charity Foundation, not the We Charity itself. Why is that raising red flags?
Well, Donna, that's a separate entity that only received charitable status last year. Its stated purpose is to hold tens of millions of dollars in real estate. A charity lawyer tells Global News this revelation is shocking.
It would be like saying, I gave money to a particular charity, but in fact you gave it to a different one. It certainly doesn't reflect well in terms of the transparency that we've seen on this particular deal. As soon as the deal became very controversial, they should have just released all the information, especially the agreement.
Now, We tells Global News the use of multiple entities is not uncommon, saying it made the foundation the, quote, contracting party with the government on the advice of its lawyers to protect We Charity's pre-existing charitable assets. Donna?
All right, Abigail Bimman in Ottawa.